Thank you very much. At the end of the presentation, I'm going to let you all have a go and we'll see if the Wi-Fi can cope in the room. So bear with me as we go through the presentation. I've kept it to the end and I've been put on last, I think, to try and keep you all awake. So here we go. I'm going to rattle through this quite quickly. I put a little bit of background about me on the slide. It's not just because I love, and that lovely slide, I think, earlier on about ego, but it was to give you a background of actually what I've done within Stride Treglown and where I've come from. When I became a director in 2009, I was in charge of delivery at the practice. I had a wide-ranging role. We were very early adopters in the business of technology, and it was my absolute passion that our business had to be at the forefront of that. And there's a few of you in the room that used to work with me, have moved on to other practices, will know what I'm on about. But I soon became the BIM director, and then that kind of got rebranded into digital director. But I'm here today as the marketing director. So I think that says something about our practice, about where it wants to see itself selling itself. A little bit about us, just to give you a bit of background, because I know the room is very mixed in terms of large-scale practice and small, small-scale partnering type businesses. Stride Treglown is Bristol born and bred, 1953, from Ray and Jerry. We've had some success over those 60-plus years of trading. That success has generated some interesting insights into where and how we have grown. We are, according to the Building magazine last week, in the top 10. So that success, though, has grown through commercial architecture, and I have to be honest about that. We do a lot of work for a lot of big national clients. Part of that success, though, has had to be driven through collaboration, and we have set up different types of collaboration. I know today is about winning work. I'd love to talk to you about the agreements and partnerships and the 8 or so international practices that we work with on projects, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about our experience of the Middle East and how we've reframed how we work out there. What I am going to talk about is the digital side of things, but I'm not going to talk about this aspect of digitalization. We are certainly, with that huge breadth of what we are doing as a practice, understand now and analyze the data coming into our business on every single project that we have, and where it's coming from, where it's going to, etc., and where that's been built. And for us, that's only one aspect of looking at the sort of digitalization of the business. We are now looking at social media, and we're really investigating how users are experiencing our buildings. And we're working with the University of West of England on a research project to see if we can get post-occupancy evaluation through social media. But I'm not going to talk about that either. Although I'd love to, I could spend all day on that. What I am going to talk about is our digital journey. And that digital journey hopefully will end up towards VR, which is what I was specifically asked to talk about today. In terms of VR, can I just have a show of hands in the room of who's heard of VR? Well, that's really reassuring. Who's used it? Who actually has it as part of their business day to day? Okay, that helps me today. So I will skip over a few things, I think, early on. So bear with me. I wasn't sure of the level of uptake of the profession. In terms of the digital journey, it starts, I think, from the government. I hope you've all read these 3 very important documents. So that's the Digital Built Britain's Level 3 Strategic Plan. Digital Built Britain has also just announced a few weeks ago its plans for Level 4, 5, 6 and beyond. It's important that our industry really embraces digitalization. It is the way of the world now, and it is a way that Simon has just shown you as well. That's one aspect to it. But I'm going to show you, using a case study, how we're learning to engage with clients and, importantly, end users. And I'm going to be using the Bristol Business School, which is up at the University of West of England campus. It's been open. The first set of students have been in for this autumn. Importantly about this scheme, it was about selling the design. In academic terms, I think there were 5 different departments coming together. I might be wrong on exactly how many departments. My colleague Matt Tarling, fellow directors, have driven the project. But my interest in this is about how we go about selling ourselves as architects. Sometime in the past, in the days of watercolours, drawings were invented as a way of communicating our designs. They're very two-dimensional. I think the advent of technology and CAD was the first step on that journey, and everybody's seen the Mark Bew triangle in BIM world will know what I'm on about. 3D modelling, though, and parametric modelling in particular, and Autodesk Revit, has really moved on. And it's moved, I think, all of us into an arena where we can start to think differently about how we create and how we explain to clients the lovely stories that we have about our design and about how we go about selling our projects. So on this particular project, they started to use 3D drawings very aggressively. As you can see, I'm going to load you up through the floors. For the users, it was really important that they actually got to understand space. There are extracts that we could take. Using Revit as a tool, I think most of you are either in the MicroStation world or Vectorworks. We particularly use Revit. It allows us to have those insights into the spaces that we are creating and engage with the users in a different way. But of course, life's getting more complicated. It's about 3D federation. It's about the integration of design, the overlaying of layers of technology and of each other's design disciplines. So this building actually is a far-reaching for us as a business. It's really taught us how to work together as a team to sort of deliver a really comprehensive, detailed design. And BIM's been a fantastic journey for that. Importantly on this project, though, it's as much about the data than it is also about the design. And very early on, with the estates team, we were working out exactly what components that they wanted to have some digital information on. The most important thing on this project, though, is the coming together of those academics. We used a new piece of software that, at the time, bearing in mind that this project in its inception was about 2-3 years ago for us, we're playing with Revitsto. A great export tool for those of you who have it, just to show anybody know what I mean by the software? A couple of hands? No? No one? Few people use it. It's a very cheap, affordable tool that exports directly from Revitsto. We were using it using the iPad. So we actually gave the client an iPad. The image on the right is the first reiterative design. This particular academic team were talking about how they moved down the corridor and the importance of the administration team in the left-hand side. Our first design, you can see there's poor visibility of the corridor. When they saw this, they said, this isn't good enough. We need to be able to see out. So the consequence of that is the image on the left, where we've actually redesigned it and we brought the glass in. Very early on in this process, playing with these interactive walkthroughs, we realized that the plan almost is dead. The sign-off of 2D room loading diagrams to say where your socket is, where your door is, the vision panel, and everybody to say that's what I'm going to get for my room, is actually a very old-fashioned way of doing it. It's like the watercolor version. We need to be in a realm where actually engaging with our users and our clients in this sort of 3D manner. And I'm coming back to this, who understands plans? IKEA have got it right. They don't do 1 to 5 details of your kitchen cabinet, and you have to sit there, read the notes on the side, the specifications, and work out how you build it. They give you lovely 3-dimensional drawings. We all try and improve ourselves, and I came across this fantastic app by Peak, and I highly recommend it. It helps you train your brain. It's something that, with health and well-being, I think is really important. But I was particularly interested in one of the games. And this game is that you have a plan, and we forget this as architects. There's all the different coloured characters, and what you have to do is you have to spin the plan to match the 3D view. It's actually quite difficult to do. As an architect, I was quite pleased because I scored 99%, and I was kind of relieved I understand plans and 3D views. But my point is, the general public, and that is our clients, don't understand the concept of a plan. Because of that, I do think there is an emerging revolution on our hands. We have the fancy handsets. This is the Oculus Rift. There are many others. There's the Vive. But it's changing. The new Galaxy Note S8 now comes with, as a pack from, I think it's Sky. I'm not a Sky salesman, but you can get the bundle where you get the headset with it and you get the control pad. It's actually been driven by a smartphone. But of course, there's the old-fashioned use of cardboard, and this is the $1.99 Google eBay style cardboard. But there is more to come. There is augmented reality. I'm always on about this particular technology. It's very different, is that you see through the screen. So you're no longer in this immersive world. So watch out for the HoloLens and watch out for the Meta. The Meta particularly will change things. It's full 360 panorama as you're looking through the lens, giving a superimposed image of what you're seeing. And on the screen you can see the model. It's kind of shot through the Meta lens, and the design. We're going to be in rooms with white tables, and you're all looking at the design together. It's very important. Step forwards. What I wanted to sort of explain to you is our journey in the VR world back to the project. As that project was coming through, some of this technology was starting to hit the high street. We decided to have a bit of a play and a bit of an investment into the full VR kit. So about a year ago, when as soon as we could buy the Oculus Rift, we went out and bought one. What we discovered is that to power it, we needed an alien. So we had to buy a very expensive laptop. The problem with the laptop, and the reason it was expensive, is it needed lots of RAM. It had to be so powerful to generate the images that we were doing. And it ended up with this setup. So this is what you need to sort of run high-end design through the Rift at the time. So on the left, the dark black box is a video card. The laptop has the processor and the RAM, and then there's a small headset, but then there's lots of cables and there's lots of sensors to help you. And on the bottom, you can just see it cropped off as the controller. We then realized that to take this to client meetings, we've got to have a form of transporting it. So we then had to invest in an aircraft-style box. What I'm trying to get at is that costs us money. And this is where technology never normally works. And this is a point that I do want to make. We invested in 2 of these kits. One of those kits we can't use today. It's because the software isn't compatible. So although our journey with this very expensive equipment is been enlightening for those using it, and I'm going to come on to some of the benefits we've seen, actually the reality is a little bit different. It's a very immersive environment. Although it's immersive, the extraordinary thing is the depth that it gives you. We experimented with a cube, a simple cube. It was easy to make. It was one of the first things we made to put the headsets on. That cube, you can give it some dimensions. If you were to see it flat in 2D in an interactive fly-through, you wouldn't have a clue the size of that cube. You put the Oculus on, and suddenly you get the scale of space. And that's really important. So not only do you get depth, you get scale. But the thing that we're finding is it's very, very lonely. So we're trying to use it for user engagement, but it's almost like one in, one out. It takes too long. What we are finding, though, is actually for our own internal teams, the pin-up of drawings is kind of disappearing a little bit. It's about models, it's about huddles. And what we're finding is the software that we're using to drive it, and it's Enscape, and I highly recommend Enscape. And one thing that you are going to do at the end is that you're going to have a go at Enscape, is that the models and huddles are starting to change about how we meet internally. We're also starting to do things differently with bids. We're giving away some goggles now. And we're going not for the $1.99 cardboard, we're going for the $7.99 plastic version. It's not environmentally responsible as much as the cardboard, but the cardboard ones get thrown away so quickly because they're so uncomfortable. And I've actually got 3 in the room, and I'm going to start to dish those 3 out, if you may. So if you want to have a go one of these in the next minute or two, please put your hand up. And yeah, there's a few hands. If you could share them around, they're coming your way. Don't put your smartphone in it yet. But what we found, particularly at conference, it was really useful to explain some of our designs. So we're using it on a stand that we've built, that we're sending around. We're finding that it's very engaging in that process. But what we found, that's particularly at some of the student events, is we had some students coming approaching us that had been taught in America. And they were saying to us, yeah, I know Revit, Rhino and Grasshopper, we learnt that at high school. It scared the living hell out of me. But they were so interested in the technology that we had to offer and to show them that they were really excited for our industry and our profession. And that's something I think the excitement of the product is really important. And finally, the 4 things that we seem to get out of using VR. The biggest is design understanding and the engagement. So here we have the photo of us, or the CGI, of the expectation at Bristol Business School in its foyer. And here's the final image, the final shot. This is of it today. Go up to you, have a look at it. What you do get from it is an understanding of that project. The users are starting to say, can we have it as part of the handover process? So at UE, the client team, we had to go back 4 or 5 times for the departments to have a look at their new space while it was on site. So we found there's some interesting byproducts of it. The second is actually collaboration. Explaining our designs in that 3D environment is really helping us, because I don't just believe it's the clients that not necessarily understand drawings. I actually wonder whether some of the consultants we work with don't understand the drawings, and I'm not going to name any other professions. But what we have discovered is the software from it we're beginning to use it in a really simple level where we don't need any of the goggles, and it's actually driven the panoramic view. So I'm going to show you simplification at its best. This piece of software is $600 a year. It enables you to actively look at your Revit file. It's a direct link. It does direct rendering. It saves you so much time. We're going to see if this will work. So next, I'm going to give you a web address. Please, could you get out your smartphones, get out your web browsers, and let's see if you can have a look around this building. Those of you with your goggles, there's 3 of you. If you look at this symbol in the bottom corner, if you click on that, it'll go into VR mode, and you'll go into twin. So I'm going to flip back. So what we've come to a conclusion, full circle, is you don't need to spend all that money on that aircraft carrier case and all the kit that goes in it. All you need is a smartphone and a set of $7.99 eBay goggles, and you can all do that. In fact, you don't even need the goggles. Has anybody loaded it up yet? So if you now spin around your phone, you will now look around the insides of a bid building. Can anybody find where the bloodhound is and point to the bloodhound? That's the blue and orange car. It is Enscape's rendition of the Revit model, full CGI quality. And it gives you a direct link into It gives you a direct link into anything to do with VR. So it enables you the twin sphere image that you can use for Google Glasses or you can use for Oculus Rift. On the left screen is the Revit model, and on the right screen is the render. And if you move something in the Revit model, it will move live in the render, in your goggles. It's fantastic technology. What I'm getting at is you don't have to invest thousands of pounds like we did. I'm giving you the insight of all our learning. That's me done. Bit of a damp ending. Sorry that you couldn't all see it.